So, John and Joe, how long have you been together as a couple and how long have you been married?
We met exactly June 11th, 2005.
So,
And was it love at first sight?
well, it was like at first sight.
It seemed, what are your common interests that you share that are enjoyable and kind of make the couple bond strong?
I think that it's because we're both homebodies, and we like being around our cats. We like reading, maybe watching some television, simple, but definitely. I would also say we have we have lots of shared cultural references that I don't know, that just, we both have Norwegian heritage, both our fathers were born in the same year, there were similarities in the way we were raised. So there's a lot that you could say we bond over, or we were already bonded.
So
Yeah.
you feel like kin.
We before COVID, we went to the theater a lot. We haven't, of course, in a long time.
Right.
But
Right. Yeah. Artistic endeavors. Plus, it's interesting because before I didn't have the luxury to be a homebody, right? Who does, right? But it was a later part of my life, and so I'd been married, raised kids, and so I was kind of, the way I told Joan, I said, this part of my life is kind of like the icing on the cake, even though I was not elderly, you know what I mean? But I started young, and so it just felt like, I don't have to go out exploring every day.
Mm-hmm. You both were married to women. How is it different to be married to a man? What is it easier?
I would have to say I honestly never thought of the difference because I was married to Andrea, was her name, by the way.
Oh boy.
but
Yeah.
Andrea. Mine is Andrea. This is Andrea. Yeah, I know.
So anyway, so I was married to Andrea. I wasn't married to that Sue. I wasn't married to that Tammy. I wasn't married to that person across the street. I was married to Andrea. And now I'm married to John. So I didn't marry a woman and then marry a man. I married an Andrea and then I married a John. And so I wouldn't have married either one if I hadn't thought that it was the right next step. That's how I've always thought.
I'm 100% on that. That was deep.
Well, I would say I kind of sort of got the wording from him, not that wording, but anyway, I've absorbed a bit over the years to understand the way I've lived my life in certain words.
Mm-hmm. So it's about the person, not the gender.
That's how it's been for me.
Cool. When you have...
I felt when I met Joe that he was the nicest man I've ever met.
Oh.
And he, he's genuinely, can I tell a story about what I asked?
Well, I don't know if she wants it on the record.
Oh, sure. The more the merrier.
Short video.
So I met Andrea soon after I met Joe. And I asked her, is there anything I should know about him? And she said, he's very nurturing. And she's absolutely right. And that's a pretty rare quality.
I think Taurus people can be very nurturing. They're very comfortable to be with.
Right.
It feels really safe.
Yeah.
When you have disagreements, how do you work them out? Because I'm asking so other people can learn from what you do.
I'd say on the one hand, we're both we both have a lot of peacemaking. We're both peacemakers to a certain degree. So when one person is getting passionate about something, let's say, or then the other person tends to not back off, but de-escalate. But go more into a reason. Let's talk about this. Let's approach this from a more intellectual standpoint.
Mm-hmm. John, what's it like being a grandfather? That's something that Joey brought to the relationship.
Well, I never thought that would be in my life, obviously. So it's first of all, it was already pretty wonderful to become a stepdad, to get. I didn't picture myself ever getting a Father's Day greeting. And his kids are wonderful. I love them to death, and their kids are wonderful. So it's they're all elsewhere. I mean, most are in California, some are in Europe. So it's not like we can see them often. And it's been a long time since we've been able to visit, which is our latest topic of conversation, which is after I'm vaxxed, after his
fully vaxxed.
When he's totally vaxxed, do we think we can go there to see them? So that's a long way of saying it's wonderful.
What do you see in the grandkids in terms of their gender freedom, or they're getting bombarded with gender stereotypes?
Go ahead.
I would say for the two things I notice is of course I notice it's a better view because I'm farther from just being a dad. Now I'm farther away, but it kind of confirms what I suspected, of course, that that they get it early, very early, and they get it from their parents, but that they also after that they just get it from society. My son grew up to be a dude, and my wife and I did not raise him to be a dude, but he kind of became a dude, sort of. Not. He's not a frat bro. He's not that. He's just, And but he got that from society. He got that after he got to school. He got that after he became an adolescent, and so that's almost more of a shaping, or as much as I think what they get, when they're little, and but John would say that he was raised to be a man, and I was raised to be a man. My kids, my girls, were raised to be girls, and because of that, they're raising their kids in a fairly mainstream, gendered. They're aware. When some grandkids might go to Montessori. They're aware of certain things, but it doesn't completely change. Maybe the thrill that we all get from genderizing everything. You want to get the cute little baby, the little blue or the little pink, or you want to, the grandson just loves playing with trucks and it's really cute, and it is cute, but it would be it's a lot I think it would be a lot to try to raise a non-gendered child in a gendered society.
Mm-hmm. The thing that they all seem to have in common is a kind of independence that has been affirmed.
The grandkids?
Yeah, the grandkids.
Yeah, I think so.
And that's going to serve them well.
Good point.
You say they are more independent in their thinking?
Yeah, they're all very independent.
Yeah, yeah. So in other words, they're not repressed. They're all individuals. You can see already. So they're probably gonna have less pressure to conform to lots of things.
What I see with Gen Z under 25 is that they are very confident. They know their generation has power. They think adults have really screwed up the planet and everything else. So since adults are screwed up, they have to do it, so they have confidence.
Well, these grandkids are 6 and under. So we'll see about all that, I guess.
Yeah. Anything that you would add? Let's say the grandkids are older and ready to maybe pick a partner. What advice would you give them about how to make a relationship work over time?
They never seem to ask.
Well, let's pretend they do.
Your kids or the grandkids?
Anyone. And I never asked. You know what I mean? Because I've thought of that. I've thought, boy, I feel unused in my wisdom.
Well, now's your
I
chance.
feel unused. And one of the reasons is because, as John said, the kids and now the grandkids, but the kids grew up very independent, so they know everything. And I remember myself at that age, and it's like, most people, many are not inquisitive about that. But I would say, stay physically close. Just try to. There's lots of different things.
May I ask why you got divorced?
Say again?
May I ask why you got divorced from your first wife?
Yeah, you can. So my wife knew when we got married that I identified as bisexual. And when I got to be a certain age, like mid-30s for me, I guess probably that was my midlife crisis. Kids were like son was like almost 18. So there was this other part of me that I'm sure as mortality started to rear its head, excuse me, I wanted to explore this other side of me. And so I talked about it with my wife, and we went through counseling. First, I went through counseling, and I also went through depression and counseling. And she decided that this was not something that she wanted to
hang in there with.
Not be a part of, but she didn't want to live like that.
John, what about your advice to those who do not listen but should?
About sustaining relationships?
Yeah.
Well, for people raised to be a man, it's really important to keep checking at what point your ego is about gender defense and at what point its own principle. It's easy to swing back and forth. It's easy to assert oneself from a position of from a principled position of concern for the welfare of the whole, as distinct from asserting oneself in shorthand to be the man there, to make sure you are reminding yourself and the other person that you have got your alpha code running, and you are you're being a real man in the moment. It is the difference between loving manhood and loving justice, as I put it in one of my books. That is to say, it is a dichotomy. We swing back and forth. And what's important to recognize is that you can alternate within the same conversation. You can go back and forth. By you, I mean someone who's raised to be a man. And it can feel like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde experience for the partner. Wait a minute, I thought I knew this person, and now I don't. What just happened? And so what I'm talking about is a kind of a self-check monitoring of where one's ego is about defending gender and when it's about furthering justice. There are two different ways of being, and you're capable of both, and you have the choice to navigate between them.
Is it easier if you're both men to do that kind of justice rather than role playing?
It wasn't foreign between me and Andrea. That kind of the justice ego as opposed to the gendered ego. Yeah, that was maybe that. I mean, it was pretty common to our conversations. But we knew each other. I mean, by that time, very soon I knew, oh, well, I don't have to put on those airs anymore. I'm not going to get attacked for not having my manhood act in place. And a lot of men walk around worried that they will be, and they often are.
So how do you do the cooking and cleaning, the roommate stuff in terms of roles?
We're not that. One of the things we bond over is that we don't like to cook. We don't enjoy cooking. It gives us no pleasure. We
do some,
okay, but
You would
not much.
you do take in food? Is that how you eat?
Yeah, and well, okay, and I have this thing where it's called purium. It's like it's like I have cereal for breakfast and I have a real quick, easy lunch. So, I just have one meal at night, and yeah, we don't use our stove. Our oven.
Anyway, this feels like what's in your medicine chest.
But yeah, well, I'd say we both have a pretty. I'd say we fell into our routine pretty easily because what he enjoys doing and what I enjoy doing. And what he enjoys not doing, what I enjoy not doing, just seem to mesh really well,
For
And
instance,
that's
Joey
good.
does the litter boxes. I do the dishwasher. In general,
Right. Sure.
there's no particular reason
Right.
that sorted itself out,
Right.
but that's just the routine.
I have this picture of you guys not eating, but you must eat.
Oh, we eat all the time. we eat well, but like I said, it's we live in a nice little borough, and I'll walk down and get Thai food or whatever it is. Yeah. Oh yeah, we eat plenty.
Okay, I won't worry about you. All right. Thank you. That was great.